Today I want to talk about personal style, and more specifically I want to share the tips that I have that will enable you to stop hating your wardrobe every 6 months, 3 months, to even a week or a day. It's very common at the moment for clothes to become boring after one wash or one photo, and I feel like through taking the time to think of these tips and apply them to my own wardrobe and my fashion sense, I've gotten to a place where I can wear the same outfit 10 days in a row and be completely happy and confident. I feel like it's more, if I was a cartoon character, I'd love wearing this every single day, every single episode. And yeah, I just want to make a video that kind of builds the connection between people and clothes and what it really means through expression and personality, rather than the way that we get caught up in this online world of shifting trends and things looking more and more glamorous than the next, and an overall disconnect with what we really resonate with. And yeah, without further ado, I'm going to get into all of these tips, and I hope they are helpful and instill that love and treasure for the pieces you have, because they've certainly done that for me. The first tip I have is to avoid these TikTok aesthetics or microtrends unless you can trace a personal reason for it. So in my opinion, I think that these TikTok aesthetics are a little bit more of like a half-baked idea of a subculture. Now, a subculture is more of a community that involves a lot of fashion because it's about speaking a message or self-expression, but it has a lot to do with other things too. Like, for example, the punk movement of the 70s, that was a subculture around music that was more of this DIY and less formal and traditional produced type of music. And since it was more just down to the basics, messy, done in people's garages, the fashion took shape to represent that as well. So what they were saying with their music and their instrumentation style and way of performing was also being said in the clothing. And then we can think of indie sleaze as another one, although the naming of indie sleaze isn't exactly what was called that back in the day. I think people really didn't have a name for it when it was the thing, but it was this kind of early 2000s clubbing, rave sort of vibe. It was messy. It's kind of what brat is today. I feel like all of these like indie sleaze and brat words are kind of calling attention to the joy of that messy, clubby, ravey kind of vibe where people would mix and match crazy patterns together. It was very maximalistic. You'd go to sleep in your makeup kind of thing. And it was just a community. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, let me try to do this one day and do a smoky. Like, you're not playing a character. It's more just like, this is what the people you're around are doing, and it makes sense and it's fun. And also, without the internet, the whole crazy pattern mixing and just chaos was just loved in person and feels more real that way. But yeah, I could name so many other subcultures that also have these deep, meaningful roots. Like, I could even talk about the Harajuku movement, which then later inspired Gwen Stefani, and that in itself is an impactful kind of inspiration because it's music, it's art, it's something that's real. It's not a fabricated idea or a fabricated persona that you found online. With them, they really loved this maximalist way of dressing, and it was brand new to the time. It was a lot more creative. It's kind of like how bag charms are very popular right now, because they were just doing a lot of just like PC moments, like hanging things off their outfits, just layers and layers and just objects. But it made sense. It made sense to their culture. It made sense to the ideas. And these are also like trinkets and knickknacks and layers and pieces that were thrifted, found, collected over the years, had personal meaning to them, family heirlooms. It just made sense in a way that wasn't so, But I think that these TikTok aesthetics have really kind of pretended to be subcultures, but really they're this fake little fantasy that they create so that you can buy the product that they're selling. Like, basically, Strawberry Girl, whatever, was a great marketing tactic for Hailey Bieber to come out with makeup for her own brand that kind of mimicked the style, like How to Be This Girl is literally just by Hailey Bieber's brand, stuff like that. It's really just about marketing, and it's really nothing else. It's not about exploring a world of music or art or just connecting with people the way that these subcultures are. So that's why I say ignore the TikTok subcultures. However, there are moments where things that you actually like coincide with that. Maybe you do like a really blushed cheek, and maybe you do dress in like prairie dresses, cottage chic kind of moments. Like maybe that's your style, and maybe you've figured that out because of your interests, who you are, and that's totally okay. They overlap, but it's really the premise. It's kind of like pick this world because you're actually in it, and at the same time don't limit yourself to that world. I personally really love grunge stuff like leather jackets and studs, and I also like really basic and simple things at the same time. I like color, I like black and white, and it's not really something that I'm restricting myself to this one world, but at the same time it's important to explore meaning through clothes and explore the worlds that kind of bring these clothes to life. Don't follow a fake trend that is something that you don't connect to, and just think about the things that you love and what people are saying through that, and in turn you'll find the clothes that are saying similar things. That is such a deep first tip, so whoops, the rest are not going to be that intense, because I mean, part of loving clothes could even just be totally random. You just like how that looks, and it's not about finding this deep meaning. But I thought it was important just to differentiate subcultures from this kind of TikTok aesthetic swaying that people are falling under and needing to buy new things that they end up hating because of. My next tip kind of comes out of this subculture world, where it's kind of like, look at what you resonate with, the meanings you resonate with, the movements you love, and follow the fashion of that. Well, not even like follow, but just see how you align with the fashion of that, if it makes sense for you. So moving further into like specifics, think about your favorite music. I know that when I was younger in high school, a lot of indie bands would have this sort of aesthetic around them. You'd go to a concert and everyone would be in like colorful corduroy. At the time, everyone called this like the art hoe aesthetic, which is silly because I think that it was kind of before online trends became so fake. Because I don't know, it was really fun when you'd go to high school and be so boring and lackluster, sports themed school, and like nothing is creative, and you'd go to these concerts and everyone's wearing bright colors and silly fun outfits. That's something really enjoyable. Same thing with punk music. You go to a punk show and everyone's in leather jackets and really interesting silhouettes. They're putting random stuff in their hair. Like the other day I had a ponytail and I put a silver bracelet that kind of looks like a piercing around, and it's just those random things like that, like a nose ring, or just, I don't know. People embellish in more edgy ways without being completely cheesy with the way I describe it. But yeah, I think when you are really entrenched in a kind of music, you gravitate towards that world, and the clothes make sense. They don't have to make sense. They never have to. Like, you can show up in a punk show and be wearing a cute little dress. Maybe it's funny because there are like these memes where the girl is like headphones in, cute outfit, bows everywhere, and the caption is something like, they have no idea I'm listening to Screamo, or something stupid like that. It totally doesn't matter, but I just mean that it'll help you go into that direction if you resonate with that. And it's better to look at inspiration that's real and based on something that isn't based on the internet and what people are wearing around you. The methods of inspiration we find are very important for finding that inside of ourselves, that connection to the clothes is all I mean. Next, think about your favorite TV shows and movies. There are so many fashion-forward characters like Carrie Bradshaw, Cher from Clueless, The Nanny, Friends, Skins, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, even The Devil Wears Prada. There are so many pieces of media where fashion is a great part of the costume design rather than an afterthought. And those are really great forms of inspiration, but I also think that it's about the character as well. Like, if you're looking at your favorite TV show or movie and you really resonate with that main character and you find that like she's you or he's you in that way. And this is where my first SD card cuts off while I'm speaking, which I was very confused about because as I was editing the footage, I saw that there was not a lot of footage compared to what I thought I recorded. But here we are, and you can kind of see where I'm getting with this whole like pick characters that you connect with, because I think that like if you connect with a person or a character, you're just led in the direction of what they like in a way. And just, I don't know, even when you're reading a book and you're kind of inventing the character that you're reading, you kind of make what you would like to see them wear, even if the author does describe what their jeans look like or something like that. You are kind of creating the person you want to see or the person that you want to become if you yourself was entering that story. So I think it's just good to look at characters for inspiration in that way, because you know, you connect, you get in their head, and it leads you into a world of fashion. And then my next tip was going to be treat your clothing as investments and push yourself to care about quality over quantity. Now, you could go on Shein and buy 20 items for $100, or probably even more. I have no idea and I don't want to know. Or you buy one designer vintage item for $100 and you're just having like one item, but you get to a point where it just becomes so much more worthwhile, because one, you're under a lot of pressure to buy the right 20 items, and these are low quality, honestly poisonous in ways, pieces that are made in factories by like slave labor, and you're gonna get so sick of it because it's the most cheap piece of garbage you've ever had. You're like, it's gonna go in the trash tomorrow. You have that giant pressure to impulse buy so many things and build your wardrobe overnight when it's not meant to be like that. Whereas if you take a month or 2 months, you think and you look at this item online or wherever you're shopping. Personally, I get a lot of secondhand vintage designer just because I like the world that these brands create, but the price tag is ridiculous, especially new. That is just not my tax bracket. So I like going secondhand because I can explore the vintage worlds of it, and vintage is so much fun anyway. Or you could buy a sustainable small brand who has a higher price tag because they're ethically making their stuff and sourcing good quality materials. And these are pieces that you treasure. You don't feel like they're ugly tomorrow. They're pieces that you took a while to decide that you wanted to get. And then once you get them, it's like you just have this like amazing, this is like your baby now. And these pieces, for me personally, have been in my wardrobe for years and years and years, and I love them and I always go back to them, and they bring new pieces that I bring into my wardrobe to life in new ways, and I just love to see them evolve and stay as this precious, treasured piece of clothing. And that's really what it's all about, like, treasure your pieces. Okay, now back to the video, and I'm glad that I just sucked it up and did a little photo booth moment because I was so happy about the way I filmed this. I was like, yes, loving the energy, so much fun. And I'm like, I really have to refilm that now. So goodbye, get back to it. My next tip is more so the reminder to be aware that we live in a world of instant gratification, and this is kind of the drive for buying a million pieces of clothing at once, or the drive for replacing your wardrobe very frequently. And it makes sense. There are so many things happening at once. The spread of knowledge and information is higher than ever. We live in the hookup culture world, and everything is about a dopamine hit and a rush of excitement rather than the mundane, and appreciating life when it's still and mundane and unmoving and there is nothing crazy coming out at you left field. But yeah, I think it's worth the practice of separating yourself from this kind of idea when it comes to clothing and just figuring out how to cherish things, which is a build off of what I just said. But think about the things that have been passed down for you for generations. Like maybe your grandma gave you an old mug and there's a slight chip on the corner, but the drawing and the design of it is so special and it means so much to you and your family and you hold on to it forever. Instant gratification does not compare to the joy of that special piece of ceramic that has stayed in your family for so long. It has not demanded a crazy change of scenery or a crazy innovation from you. It's just been there. It's been there for your family all those years in that closet and the next closet when it was given to the next person. And it's so much more valuable like that. I also think it's a great idea to try not to chase moments of inspiration, and that's a huge part of it too. Like in my previous outfits video, I wore a belt in the first outfit, which happened to be a random leather strap that was the belt of my grandma's leather jacket. That piece of accessory happened upon me, and it wasn't something that I was chasing because I saw a girl wear a leather piece on TikTok or Pinterest. Like, it's more meaningful when it happens just out of the blue and it's just special and sentimental. And it didn't even strike me to use it as a jeans belt. I was going to use it for a belt for my leather jacket that she also gave me, and I felt like that made a lot of sense just because it was the leather jacket we were talking about. She was giving me another one of hers while talking about the one that's connected to the belt, and it just made sense there. But then I put it on my jeans out of nowhere. I was 5 minutes late heading to the movies with my friends one night, and I was like, oh my god, this is a moment that I didn't even think of until now. And those moments that just randomly strike you are so special, and instant gratification and inspiration that comes from something fake and online does not compare to those moments that hit you out of nowhere. The moments that hit you out of nowhere are like precious gems that you just don't come across on the day-to-day. And I would say just keep your eyes out for these precious moments that are you and just happen and real, and not these moments that you feel like you have to collect a million different innovative ways to do something. So without needing all that fast pace, a million ways to style something and be the most innovative person, you're slow and you live life, and these moments just come to you because they're meant to, because they're real, and you'll just value them more.
Hey, so this one tip and the mention of the leather strap actually reminded me that I had another one that got cut out, but it was to get inspiration from print rather than Instagram, simply just because your brain won't collect the information of a bunch of saved images in an Instagram folder the same way it would if you're impacted by the pages of a magazine. And I gave the example, I guess now that I'm on photo booth, I could do a better job of showing this, but I gave the example of this wall that I have, which came from the fashion book, which is sold by Barnes & Noble, and I basically cut it up at the very beginning of COVID so that I could just, I don't know, it was just something fun to do, and I was bored. But that was the very beginning of my journey in the fashion industry, and it's been 5 years now, and there are so many moments on this wall that I didn't know the year prior. It took me a million years to learn who took this photo. Oh my god, this one. And that's an Avedon photo. And I learned that from a photographer I assist and how he was explaining the generations of photographers in fashion that have inspired and paved the way for the next, and how all of these references and just innovators are important to each generation. And it was something very, very cool, and I didn't even know that photographer was just sitting on my wall there. There's some other moments, like we love Madonna, Jean-Paul Gaultier cone bra, Carrie Bradshaw in a little ballerina tulle skirt. But these are all very, very iconic moments, and it's funny because I never get sick of them, because one, they're huge parts of history, and two, I just learn what these are through my day to day. Like, I don't know the story of this photo, but I might discover it on set in a few weeks. I'll come and look at my wall and be like, oh my god, it's that photo. But yeah, there's so many historical moments or just incredibly inspiring moments that I've had sitting here since 2020, and I get inspired by this all the time. It's so much more impactful to me than the saved folder on Instagram, because I don't remember at all what is in that folder, but I will remember something like this, one of these photos. And when you're looking at a magazine, it's real. And when you look at something real, your brain just processes it in a way different way. So that's why I think, like, it's the same thing as don't chase those moments of inspiration. Like, don't shove your face into the saved folder and think you need to find something in there. Like, you should see these moments of inspiration as gifts that just pop out of nowhere and that you're meant to see in that moment of time. And I feel like that's a lot more special. And yeah, I guess it's a bit of art, but it definitely coincides with clothes and styling. Because you can also look at runway shows, and those are huge productions, and it's not just a little moment on Instagram, but it's, the styling is always so interesting, and you learn a lot. And yeah, so that's it on my studying portion of the video.
And now for some very practical tips. First being, what are the silhouettes that you love for your body? And when I say that, I don't mean you're tall, you have to wear this. You're short, you have to wear this. You look like this, you have to wear, like, none of that means anything to me, because we've seen differences of opinions change across generations. Someone 20 to 30 years older than us may look at a photo of Rihanna with her belly bump out and think, ew, she should put that away. My generation, myself, I see that, and yes, okay, so it does not depict the slim figure of the human body that is constantly praised, but I think that's the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. This amazing showcasing of motherhood and the fact that she's making a baby, she's bringing life into this world, and she always looks fantastic, whatever she does. Her crop top and baby bump, it's amazing. So these ideas that come from generations, or I don't even know, they don't mean anything. But what I'm saying is find the silhouettes that you love and you know you love. It takes a lot of time just shopping around, trying things on. It took me a lot of time to realize I like a lower waisted jean that's baggy with a tight fitting long sleeve top, rather than a high-waisted jean and a crop top. It's just something that over time I've explored until I've discovered something that always hits. I love a bodysuit tucked into a low-waisted midi skirt. I think that silhouette is amazing. It's perfect. It just feels like life-changing for me. Now, someone else who is my height, 5'1", might love a crop top and a high-waisted jean. They might love chunky platforms. I like smaller shoes. It's really just about what you personally like. It has nothing to do with rules. It has nothing to do with tradition. It's just, over time, you come to learn these things about yourself. You learn these opinions, how you like clothes to fit on you. It just happens, and don't force it. Don't try to go to the store and try a million things on until you feel happy. You'll burn out quickly, and I find that changing rooms are horrible and I hate them. For some reason, I just could never do it. I always buy things online, try them on in my room, style it with a few of my pieces, and it's more fun that way. When you're in a changing room, the pressure is on, it's a lot, it's overstimulating. You're not fully dressed up in a way. Maybe you don't have makeup on. You're not really seeing the look that you're gonna make when you have this piece, and it's just a lot. It's a lot. You just don't want to be lugging 20 things through the mall and freaking out. You don't want to do that. But when you're at home, you have a new piece, you're like, do I like how this looks with this? And you just play, and then it resonates, and then you have what you like, and that's simple as that. What are the timeless pieces of clothes that you've always loved? Not to say that you have to dress timeless, you have to dress traditional, because you don't. But it's nice to have foundational building blocks to then build your statement pieces on top of. Because if your wardrobe is just statement pieces, great, that might be amazing. You might actually love pairing pattern and craziness, and that's amazing. But if you're not, and I feel like it's more common than not to need basics to put these crazy pieces with, you're gonna run out of outfits. Your entire wardrobe is giant, colorful, fuzzy sweaters. You have no idea what to wear them with, because how can you wear that with another giant fuzzy sweater, you know? So I think it's important to decide what timeless pieces you can also have, that you also love, that work with the rest of your wardrobe, so that you can always be loving your wardrobe the way that you would want to, or that it deserves. If you have a bunch of funky treasures and they're just sitting there, personally, I hate blazers, so I don't buy blazers. I love a trench coat. I love a baggy jean. I think that's timeless to me. I think it's a structure that is not going to go out of fashion at all. Like a classic 501 Levi's, or, you know, they're just forever. I love a suit trouser low-waisted. Some may love a suit trouser high-waisted. I love a suit trouser paired with a grungy t-shirt. You know, it's just what people like, and you gotta think and sit with it and figure out what building blocks you would enjoy seeing on yourself. And I'm sure you know what the answer is, but it's just the difference between ignoring your inner thoughts by looking at the constant stream of what you have to do and what you have to see and what you have to recreate, and just coming back to yourself. Maybe write it down, and you're here, and you're staying here, and you'll figure out what you like. I also really like elevated basics, kind of a word that is becoming annoying, sadly, so it's actually going to inspire me to stop using that word. But what I love about them is that it's an asymmetrical t-shirt. It's something that's really classic, thrown off a little bit, and I love that. I think that is something I see in my photography, my styling, in general. I love something clean that you just throw on its head. Or my boss always says this when he's lighting a photo shoot. He says, make it great and then mess something up. See what happens. And I love that. It's a fun juxtaposition. So yeah, I like elevated basics for that purpose. But I also think that they are great building blocks, as well as bridges between the timeless and the fun. And it's another thing to explore, to try on, to play with the shapes of, until you find what you like. I'm gonna end on a very random note, considering I went from deep to practical, but I'm going to talk about nature and architecture, because I think that the best inspiration comes from the world around you. I think it's fun to be inspired by something that has nothing to do with fashion when you're trying to be inspired to do fashion. There are so many beautiful colors in nature, like flowers, magentas, blues. The sky has different colors every day. The shapes of the clouds can represent a different ruffle or a different ombre or a different pattern. And same with architecture. Although that's man-made and there is a design element there, the same way there is a design element in fashion, it has nothing to do with the fabric. It's like a stone. Maybe you like the sleekness of a stone building with metal panels, and you like silver jewelry, and you gravitate to the world that you like to be in a way. cottagecore is very nature focused, although I'm not gonna say cottagecore. I think if you love the farm life and that kind of outfit, you love nature, and it just makes sense. Rick Owens, for example, has a very specific architectural style, and it's funny because I was talking to a stylist that I assisted a lot, and I was saying that I really want to redo this room and have this like beige and white textured Tuscan painting style walls, and I want to have a metal panel over here. And she was like, oh, like Rick Owens vibe. And it's funny because it's a fashion designer, not an architect, but his taste in interiors, and also without even knowing that he has a taste in interiors, you're like, yeah, that is a Rick Owens vibe, and just things like that. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I hope that this was helpful and fun and got the ideas rolling and wasn't too preachy or fake deep or just a lot. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you next time.